Good morning and welcome to another Facebook Live. I'm going live daily this week to talk about the 5 big business blockers that people face when they're just getting started with their online business. So if you didn't catch my videos on Monday and Tuesday, do go and check those out. On Monday, I was talking all about niche and how important it is to find the right niche and a specific enough niche for your business and what an impact that has on pretty much everything else you do within your business, your branding, your messaging, your products and services, the way you sell, everything. So important. So if you missed that one, go and check that one out. Yesterday, I was talking all about, I've completely gone blank. What was I talking about yesterday? Oh my word. What was I talking about? Oh, I know. Wow, complete mental block then. I was talking about planning and prioritization and avoiding shiny object syndrome. One thing that people say to me so often is, I just wish I knew what I was meant to prioritize next. What am I meant to do next? Or I just wish I had a plan telling me what to do every step of the way. And so yesterday I was talking all about that one. And then today is all about imposter syndrome. There's a name for everything in this entrepreneurial world. So imposter syndrome, what is it? Let's talk about that first. It's something that I think pretty much everyone in the online business space or even in the business space has experienced at some point or other. And it's that feeling of, who do I think I am to be doing X, Y, Z? You know, who do I think I am to think that I could do this? It's that horrible feeling of, you know, I don't belong here. I can't do this. And it's something that we all feel, especially when you're just getting started, when everything feels really new and you are going through this massive learning curve, and it's very easy to feel like, you know, I just don't know anything. I don't understand any of this. How can I possibly, you know, make this work? It's such a natural thing to feel, but it can be so dangerous really for you and for your business. So I want to kind of really look at how you can recognize it, how you can overcome it. First of all, I shall tell you a little story about when I was still working in corporate. I started off, so I had before I quit my 9 to 5, I had a 13-year career with a FTSE 30 company. I actually loved working there. When I started out on the phones, answering calls and helping customers. And I really joined the company as a bit of a stopgap, because I didn't really know what to do with my life. And I thought, well, I'll get a job here. It's a big company. Hopefully they'll look after me until I work out what I want to do. And that took 13 years apparently. But yeah, I started on the phones, and after a year or two, I was promoted to manage a team of people on the phones. And I was promoted because I had been good at my job. I, you know, worked hard, had a good work ethic, and so on and so forth. And so I became a team manager. And I initially struggled hugely with imposter syndrome, because suddenly I'd gone from being a kind of high performer phone agent to a team manager who felt like I'd been put in this world that I didn't know or understand. And suddenly I had all this new responsibility. And people weren't just now asking me questions about kind of procedure, phone procedure and stuff that I knew inside and out, but they were asking me all sorts of other questions about, you know, their careers and their objectives and all this kind of stuff. And I really struggled at first, because I thought, I don't know the answers to all these questions. People are going to realise that I'm just a massive fraud and that I shouldn't be in this job. And thankfully, fairly soon, I realised that actually you don't need to know everything. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be perfect. Actually, what you do need is just to be, you know, upfront, to carry on what you've done before, is to work hard and to do your best to do a good job. and if you don't know the answers, to find the answers. And that, you know, it's all a learning curve, and that actually those other team managers who had been team managers for a while that I was looking at and thinking, oh wow, you know, they're so much better than me, they still had their own doubts, they still had their own areas that they weren't so sure, and they were panicking because actually the procedural side of stuff that I was so hot on because I had just been working on the phones was now a bit fuzzy and distant for them because they hadn't actually been on the phones themselves for so long. So the point of this story is to say that even when you're feeling like this, when you're feeling like a fraud and like you don't know what you're talking about, you can bet that those other people that you're looking at and that you're comparing yourself with are probably feeling the same about you. It's really just, you know, it's just a mindset thing, and it's a question of kind of moving past it. So let's talk about why imposter syndrome can be such a dangerous thing for you and your business. So first of all, just checking my notes. Those who watched the last 2 days will know that I have my notes so I don't forget to say everything. First of all, it stops you taking action. If you're sitting there thinking that you don't belong in this world, that you can't actually do it, that everyone else is better than you, and you know, basically feeling like a fraud, like an imposter, it stops you taking action because you're scared to fail. You think you're going to fail, and so you don't take the action, and you're kind of stuck in this, you know, fear of failure, and so it's such a dangerous thing. The fear of failure will stop you moving forward. It will stop you taking action, and it'll stop you doing scary things, it's those scary things which will actually be the things that really progress you in your business. Every single time I've taken a massive leap forward in my business, or in my career in general, actually, it's been because I've taken a leap of faith. I've done something that really scared me, and it's paid off. And I've ended up making massive progress. But if you're constantly feeling like you shouldn't be here and you don't deserve the success, and you know you're not going to succeed, then you won't take those actions because they will just be too scary. So that's number one, why imposter syndrome is so dangerous, is because it will just stop you in your tracks, and you will not move forward with your business if you don't believe that you can. The second thing is that your customers won't believe it either. So if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in your business, if you feel like a fraud, then that will come through in the way that you market yourself and the way that you present yourself to customers and potential customers, and they will see that, and you won't be able to sell. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you need, you know, if you want to sell something, you have to believe in it. You have to believe that it's worth buying. And if you're suffering from imposter syndrome, then you don't believe it. You don't believe that you are worth it, and you don't believe that your products and services are worth it. And if you can't believe it, you can never hope to get your customers or potential customers to believe it too. So it really is that serious. It's going to stop you moving forward. It's going to stop you making sales. It's going to stop you making money. And ultimately, if you're not making money, it's going to stop your business. So imposter syndrome is a really big block, and it's something that has to be dealt with. And then thirdly, it can lead to copying and not actually following your own path. And this is something which I think we've all done as well. I know I did it when I was first getting started. And what you do is you compare yourself with other people, and you look at other business owners, other entrepreneurs, perhaps in your niche, perhaps in other niches, and you compare yourself with what they're doing, with the successes that they're having, with the way that they're, you know, perhaps the way that they put their website together, with the way they write their emails. And it's a dangerous thing, because yes, it's great to have people to look up to and to get inspiration from, but the second you start to let them make you doubt yourself, actually that's not inspiration anymore. It's poison. And what happens is you look at these people and you think, well, if only I could be more like them. Look at the success that they've had. So I'll make my website look more like theirs, or I'll shape my products and services to be more like theirs, or even change your language or your personality so that you come across more like them. And it's such an easy trap to fall into, and it's all down to lack of belief in yourself. You don't believe that you, as you are, can succeed, and so you try to make yourself into someone else who you see as a success. And that is such a dangerous thing to do, because you'll only ever be, you know, a second best version of that person. You can't be them, because you're not them, you're you. And the second you start trying to be someone else instead of being you, you're on a road to failure. And again, it's that self, what's the wording, prophecy. Sorry, I'm losing my language today. Self-fulfilling prophecy, that, you know, if you don't believe that you deserve to succeed, you won't succeed. And if if you're there trying to be like others, it's just not going to work. Again, your customers will see through it. It won't be true to you. It just won't work. So I hope that's helped explain why imposter syndrome is such a serious thing, and it really needs to be dealt with, because I think it can be very easy to kind of think, well, yes, we all feel it, so I'll just ignore it, I'll just kind of push it down, and or not even to really recognize it in yourself, just to kind of, I think sometimes you can feel blocked and not even really understand why it is until you start to dig a bit deeper and realize that it is that sense of feeling like a fraud, of not having the confidence that you're going to succeed, of not really believing that you can achieve what you've set out to. I think an awful lot of people are, going through their day-to-day life, business life, and sitting down and getting on with the job with this going on inside, but without it having been acknowledged or recognized. And that's even more dangerous, because if you don't know it's happening, then you're not going to be doing anything to stop it. So it's really important to really take a step back and look at your own kind of inner workings to see, is this something that I'm doing? Is this something that I'm suffering with? Because if it is, then you need to do something about it. Let's move on from why it's so serious to what you can actually do about it. Sorry, just dealing with my laptop with that. So first of all, as I've just said, you need to recognize it and you need to acknowledge it for what it is. So really, really look at the way you're running your business, the way you're feeling about your business, the way you're feeling about yourself, and ask yourself, is this something that I am feeling? Is this something that I am dealing with right now? Do I feel like a fraud? Do I feel like an imposter? Do I really believe that I can succeed with this business? And if you don't believe, and if you do feel like a fraud or an imposter, then that is imposter syndrome, and that is something that you then need to deal with. So number one, recognize it and acknowledge it for what it is, and don't ignore it. Number two, if you realize that you are struggling with this, then a very, very simple exercise that you can do, and this isn't going to completely banish it, but it's going to take you a step towards feeling better, because imposter syndrome is one of those things that can come and go. One day you can feel great, it can just take some small success and it's banished for the day, and you feel on top of the world, you feel like you can triumph over everything, but then equally it just takes one failure or one thing to go wrong for it to come flooding back, and so even if you're not feeling it every day, if it's something that's sort of there and it's sort of popping in and popping out on a recurring basis, then it's still something that needs to be acknowledged and dealt with. So one really, really simple task that you can do is to actually sit down and list your achievements. List why you started this business in the first place. At some point you must have believed it was doable. Why was that? What is it? What is your experience? What have you done that makes you qualified for this? And actually list it out. Even better, tell someone else, and actually put it out there away from just you, because actually if you can tell someone else and get them to believe it, then you can tell your customers and you can start to believe it yourself. Does that make sense? Let me know, by the way, if you're watching this and if you feel like you either have in the past or are currently struggling with imposter syndrome. Do let me know. And also, if you have any strategies for coping with it yourself, I'd love to know those too. And I'm sure other people would find those really, really helpful. So do let us know those too. So number two, sorry, no, this is number three now. So first of all, recognize it and acknowledge it. Then actually take the time to take a step back and list why you are qualified, why you aren't an imposter. So for me, going back to my story about when I was a team manager, actually, if I had done that and taken a step back, I'd have been able to say, I know these procedures inside and out. I've done a great job with the customers. I care about the people on my team. That's a big thing. The people on my team are getting great results, and so on and so forth. And you can kind of list all the things that actually show that you are doing a good job and that you do deserve to be here and that you're not an imposter, and so on and so forth. For me in my own business, when I first started my business, and I absolutely have suffered with imposter syndrome myself, and still do. Like I say, it comes and goes, and I have to recognize it when it's there and do something about it, because otherwise, it can engulf you. So when I am just getting started with my business now, I'm in an industry that is absolutely kind of, the market is flooded with business coaches, and it would be, it is very easy to kind of look around and think, well, I'm just a tiny drop in an ocean. Why on earth would anyone come and work with me? There are people who have been doing this much longer than I have, and so on. But okay, so then I take a step back and I go, actually, I've got 13 years of business and marketing experience from a FTSE 30 company, working with the biggest and the best. I've worked on massive deals. I've done this, that, and the other. I know that I have integrity. I know that I care about the people that I work with. I know that I care about getting them the results. And I also know that just because there's tons of other people out there doing something similar, none of them me, and none of them do it in the same way that I do. None of them have the exact same personality. None of them have the exact same experience. None of them have the exact same approach that I do. And so I am qualified to do this. I can help people. I have helped people, and I really care about helping people. And so it's kind of it's that sort of thing, and actually reminding yourself of all the positives that made you believe yourself in the first place. So that's number two. Number three. Remember, it's okay to not be perfect. You don't have to have the answers to everything. You don't have to have everything perfect. You don't need to have, the most beautiful looking website and, be the perfect copywriter. You don't have to be producing, highly professional videos or Facebook Lives. Look at me today. I'm sitting here, no makeup, looking, hopefully not too scruffy, but, not exactly, all dolled up and perfect looking by any means. I've got, I haven't got a highly sort of staged background. I'm just, here in my front room where it's good lighting, because I've got a big bay window here. And so, I could have spent ages and ages getting myself ready, putting makeup on, blah, 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 blah. But actually, if I worry about stuff like that, I'm more likely to then not get stuff done that's important, like focusing on the content for this Facebook Live and actually getting on there and doing it and showing up. And so it's things like that, and it's recognizing that not everything has to be perfect, and you have to find the things that matter to you and focus on those, because if you try to make everything perfect, you are going to feel completely inadequate, because it's just not doable, especially when you're just starting out and you're still learning how to do stuff. So remember, it's okay to not be perfect. The next one is talk to someone who gets it. Now, this has been a real game changer for me. So I have a lovely accountability partner who I met in one of the various Facebook groups that I'm in, and we catch up on a Zoom call once a week and just chat about our businesses, about what our plans and goals are for the week, things that we've been struggling with, and we help each other out. We share experiences. If one of us feeling rubbish and like we've had a bad week, we help talk each other around. We help remind each other of the things that we need to do, and so on. And that's been a real help. So what also helped me, and I mentioned this yesterday actually, around this time last year, when I was really struggling, because I knew that I wasn't being focused enough. I knew that I wanted to help small businesses, but I didn't really know who or how, and so it was really blocking me and stopping me from moving forward with my business. And so I worked with a coach, and actually that was a huge help. And all those times when I felt like, is this really the right thing? Am I really qualified to be doing this? I was able to talk that out with her, and she was able to give me a much more objective or subjective, I've forgotten which way around it is, objective view. Because it's very difficult to do that for yourself, because you've got all these, you've got all your own voices and doubts and various things going on in your head, and so actually having someone come from the outside and look in and go, actually no, you're doing a good job, and yes, this experience you have is more than enough, and yes, you're absolutely qualified to be doing this, and blah blah blah, all these doubts and nonsense. It's so much easier to believe someone else when they're telling you that than it is to believe yourself, especially when you're going through it at the time. It's very difficult if you're having self-doubts to convince yourself to believe in yourself, if that makes sense. Much easier to talk it out with someone else and have them to tell you that yes, you should believe in yourself. So working with either an accountability partner or a coach can really help you to kind of break through those issues. And then lastly, stop comparing yourself. It's easier said than done, but comparing yourself with others is the road to ruin. It really is. It's because you just don't know. You could be comparing yourself with someone who's been doing it for 5 years, 10 years longer than you have. You could be comparing yourself with someone who had thousands of pounds to invest in coaching up front and you haven't. You could be comparing yourself with someone who's actually all bluster and who hasn't done any of the stuff that they've said that they're doing. And when you compare yourself with someone else, you don't know their full story. You just don't. And so you're comparing yourself with your own sort of doubts and fears with a kind of half story of, a lot of it you've probably created in your own mind too, as to what their success is and what's created it and how successful they are, and actually none of it really means anything. So really try not to compare. Yes, look at others, look up to others, get inspiration from others, learn from others. All of that's great, but don't compare yourself with others, because that really does kind of bring on this feeling of being fraud, being an imposter, and mean that you want to start acting more like them instead of like yourself. And as I mentioned earlier, you're only ever going to be a kind of second best version of them. So that's those are the kind of the key tips I would have for getting over imposter syndrome. Before I go, I will just mention, of course, that I have my 30-day business breakthrough that's kicking off in March. So if imposter syndrome is something that you are struggling with right now, I would love to chat to you and help you move forward and really start to get momentum with your business. So if you'd be interested in working with me one-to-one, then just click on the link in the description now and book a free discovery call. We'll chat, we'll get to know each other a bit and see if we're a good fit. Have a great day, and tomorrow I shall be going live to talk about the fourth big business blocker, which is time management. So when you are working at 9 to 5 and trying to build a business at the same time, and maybe you have a family, hobbies, whatever else it may be, how to fit it all in and how to stay consistent with your business. So I hope you'll join me then, and I shall see you tomorrow. Take care.